Depends on what happens when I get back. What specifically is better than a ceasefire? What are you looking for here? An end, a real end, not a ceasefire. An end. Is there something that will be more giving up entirely? Is that okay too? Are you close there? Is that possible? Is that possible? Like to you, or why not? Certainly possible. Or complete give up. That's possible.
Is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the Secretary of Defense drawn up plans for you if Iran were to attack U.S. bases or do any damage to U.S. bases?
Just kidding.
Can I ask you, because there's been some skepticism, is there any guarantee that if the U.S. did get involved militarily, that a U.S. bomb could destroy Iran's nuclear program and facilities?
Each and everything, or anything from life, you know that. Look at you, right? There's no guarantee. But you're saying a guarantee on what?
Do you think if the U.S. got involved militarily, it would actually wipe out Iran's nuclear program? Or where's your assessment of that?
I hope their program's going to be wiped out long before then. But they're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
What do you believe the Israelis are going to slow down, or are they going to hit the accelerator right now?
So you're going to find out over the next 2 days. Right? You're going to find out.
Has the gang of eight,
Nobody's slowed up so far.
has the gang of eight been notified about what's coming in the next couple of days?
Well, we'll be talking to them.
What can you do?
It's not necessary.
What can you do in Washington that you couldn't do in Canada?
Just be a little bit, I think, more well-versed. Not having to use telephones so much because I don't believe in telephones. There's people like you listen to it. So, how are you going to see this much better? And we did everything I had to do with the G7. We had a good G7. We signed a deal with the European Union, phase one of a deal. But we signed a deal with the UK. And the UK was really great. We, we're very far down the line with a lot of deals. If you look, we're actually finished with every deal. If you really think about it, because all I'm doing is say, this is what you got to pay. But it's nice to be nice.
Did Secretary Bessent see him alliance as your representative?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Can I ask you where...
Who else has a question other than CNN pictures?
President, see the Russian president. You talk about the European Union. Can you tell us what the status is on console? Does you sign over
We're talking about it, and I don't feel that they're offering it for you yet. It's been very tough over the years of the European community. They formed in order to hurt the United States Symphony. And are you going to make a good deal of it just by what we should it? Yeah.
What about the Japanese treatment? Where people trying to
Yeah, great conversation. I thought he was terrific. I was very friendly with Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister. He was a great man. But I think he's going to do a very good job.
You think you have a chance of a deal there?
Any chance? Tough. Japanese are tough too. But ultimately, you have to understand, we're just going to send a letter and say, this is what you can pay, otherwise you don't have to do business rules. What's the chance?
They want changes to auto tariffs as well. Is that on the
Just see what happens. Anything else?
Yeah, it's drone attack in Kyiv. What's the response to that? It looks like 14 drone attack, Russian drone attack in Kyiv.
When?
Very recently. Just now. 14 civilians in an orbit building.
I mean, as a booking back to see you, that's what took place. Sounds like it. I'll have to look at it.
With the events in the Middle East, what changed about that convinced you to sign on to? Did you submit to see?
Well, I haven't seen the statement yet. But I authorized them to say certain things. I don't know whether or not they said them directly, but I think they probably did a good meeting. I think that Canadian representative, he did a very good job.
How are the
Tardy did a big.
How was their meeting with them? How were the trade off?
I think we had a lot of good talks about it.
Cities are going more complex. Can you tell me what you do?
Well, they get too complex on the deals and they never get done. And we need speed. We're dealing with really, if you think about it, probably 175 countries. And most of them are going to just be sent a letter saying, it'll be an honor to trade with you, and here's what you'd have to pay to do. We're making a lot of money. We took in $88 million in tariffs. And I was called by Congress about 2 nights ago saying, we don't understand, the numbers are so far off. And I said, is that good or bad? He said, well, We're taking in so much more income than we thought. We've never seen anything like this. What is it? I said, check the tariff column. And it's about $88 billion that they've never seen before. And that's nothing compared to what it's doing.
Because of their tariffs coming down the by here.
I have a lot of them.
What's the timing you both think they lost for pharmaceuticals?
Going to be doing pharmaceuticals very soon. It's going to remove the companies back into America. It's going to remove them back in, at least partially back in. You know, they left us because we had residents that didn't know what the hell they were doing. We should have never lost our car business. We lost 52% of our car business over the years. Should have never lost it. All they had to do is say, if you make a car, you're going to leave us, you're going to make a car, you're going to pay a 25, 30% tariff, then they would have never left. And nobody said that to anybody. So they get wrong.
Well, security is saying that ICE is going to start enforcing it in hotels and bars again. Is that a change, of course, from last week?
And it would look everywhere, but I think the biggest problem is the inner cities. We're looking everywhere. When they let into this country, what Biden let in, they were allowed to, I don't think he knew what the hell he was doing, frankly. Whoever worked for him. When they let into this country, we're never going to forget it. They let prisoners in, they let gang members in, drug dealers in, mentally insane into our country. No, we're going to get them out. There are far more of the inner cities, Democrat-run cities, sadly. I'm just giving you, but there's far more there than you have on farms in some ways.
And no one's getting exemptions anymore, I hear Clemens.
Well, everyone should be above that, but the bigger problem is the cities right now. That tends to be where the really bad ones are. The murderers, you know, they fled in 11,888 murders. People that killed people. Biden allowed that to happen. So the Democrats allowed it. Biden didn't know he was even around.
Question on your Senate confirmations. With all the military actions, there are only 3 of your 6 sub-cabinet members at the defense.
I'd like to see the nominations go faster. The Democrats hold up our nominations.
Talk to Senator.
Yeah, I know. John, too, is doing a very good job. You know, I've got a lot of people, but he's doing a very good job. The Democrats, if we had George Washington up for approval, the Democrats would take maximum time, every hour, every minute, to delay him as long as possible. If we had a combination of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, they would go max. It's called max time.
So you've always said that you don't believe Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon. But how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified at March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having.
But give us one on you were this beautiful on the scene for the meeting. And you said a lot about acquiring Canada as a state. Did anybody call you about that?
I think it's a much better deal from Canada, but, you know, it's up to them. They're going to have to pay a lot of tariffs and things. They're going to have to pay a lot of money for the dome, for the Iron Dome. There would be water there. No, we may make a separate deal with that, by the way. We discussed it. You know what it is. There may be a separate deal. They want to be at $71 billion. They're going to pay.
They could be a dome thing separately.
They'll be in the dome, too. They'll be under the dome.
Where you will be negotiating with the Iranians right now, or do you want to wait?
I don't know. I've been negotiating. I told them to do the deal. They should have done the deal. The cities have been blown to pieces. They've lost a lot of people. They should have done the deal. I told them, do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in the to negotiate.
Do you think you'll be in the situation tomorrow when any
Young one. Well, boring girl. Well, you're sleeping. Goodbye.
You'll be evacuating to Iran. Yeah, you posted evacuating.
I think it's safer.
Are you going to
There's a lot of bad things happening. No, I think it's safer for them to evacuate.
On Minnesota, there were a lot of horrific details that came out today about the suspect who's been charged there. Have you called the governor yet or been able to speak to any of them?
I don't really call him. He appointed this guy to a position. I think the governor of Minnesota is so whacked out. I'm not calling. Why would I call him? I could call him and say, hi, how you doing? The guy doesn't have a clue. He's a mess. So, I could be nice and call him, but why waste time?
Of the big, beautiful bill, sir. Talk about what the
We're doing well with a big,
How's he looking in the Senate?
great, big, beautiful bill.
Are you okay with that thing?
Our year so far, it's going well.
What are you doing to say?
Look, if it doesn't get approved, 68% tax increase, and I think the Democrats would have to, because we will get Democrats. Think of it. We're giving the biggest tax cut in history, but instead you have the biggest tax increase, and it's 68%.
Or you could extend the TikTok deadline again.
Probably, yeah. It's probably have to get China approval. I think we're good.
You have the legal basis.
I think President Xi will implement it.
And you have the legal basis to do that.
Yes. We do.
Super on Iran, is there any side that North Korea is getting more involved in helping Iran, or is Russia getting more involved?
I haven't seen it. Yeah. I don't think anybody wants to get involved. It's a mess.
What about American citizens who are trying to leave the area with the airport shut down, Ben Gurion shut down?
The best we can. We're working on that. We've got the best. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good time like this, bro.